All right, we're back with some more examples of solving radical equations. I took both of these from your book. So this one is on page 559 and it is 1C. Okay, so we're solving this radical equation. So right now, again, my first step is always to get the radical by itself. Okay, step one, get the radical term alone. Okay, so this one it already is. So now I'm ready to raise both sides to the second power. Okay, so I'm going to raise this side to the second. I'm going to raise this side to the second. So a square and a square root will undo each other, so I'll just be left with what's underneath, that 2 minus x. And over on the right side, I am getting a nice whole x squared, or sorry, not whole, positive, because the negative's going to go away when you square it. So my third step is to solve whatever kind of equation I have left. Okay, so solve the new equation. This is where some extraneous roots can come up, is that I made a radical equation, now this time into a quadratic. So this new equation could be linear or quadratic. So this one is quadratic, which means I'm going to get everything to one side. I'm going to leave that x squared on the right because I like that it's positive. I'm going to bring over the x, and I'm going to bring over the 2. And I'm going to solve it by factoring. So I think if we do 2 and 1, and we make the 2 positive, the 1 negative, we're in good shape for that. And if I solve that, I get x equals 1, and I get x equals negative 2. Okay, so then my last step on this that I have to do is I have to check for extraneous roots. Okay, so if I think you check that negative 2, and you plug negative 2 in for x on both sides, this one checks. Okay, it works out. If you plug in a negative 1 on both sides, you get something that's not true. So this ends up being an extraneous root. So we end up crossing it off, and we really say this is our only solution to that equation. Okay, so sometimes both work, like I said in the other video. Sometimes one works, sometimes neither works. This example that I have, this comes from the next page, page 560, and it is 3b, in case you have it printed out. Okay, so now again, I'm looking to get my radical term alone. I want this alone, if I can, okay? If I can't really divide that 10 out, that's okay. I can deal with that, but it's easiest if you have that alone. So I'm going to divide out the 10 first, so I can have just my radical term alone. This goes in nice and whole, so that's perfect. And so now I'm ready to, I want you to keep in mind that this is the same thing as this, because you're going to use this in your next week anyway. So that's the same, those two equations right here are exactly the same. Okay? So either way, if I write it as a square root or if I write it as a 1 to the 1/2 power, when I square both sides, okay, a 1/2 to the second power, when I have both of these as exponents, we multiply those, so I get a 1. So I get a nice x plus 2 with no radical on it, and that side I get a 4. And so I end up getting x to be 2. Okay, so we'll go over here on the side, we'll do our little check to make sure that this is not extraneous. So go back to the original one, this is my check. So I have 10 square root of 2 plus 2 is supposed to come out to be, sorry about that, I was trying to fix that radical, equals 20. So we don't try to force it to check out, we just evaluate both sides. So under the radical we have a 4, and that becomes 10 times 2, so we have 20 equals, when I bring this down, 20. So that makes sense, that's a check. That means my solution is 2. Okay, it's not extraneous, this is an actual solution. So I hope those two examples help you out a little bit.